Good morning. Welcome to an absolutely wonderful beginning of a weekend. Today probably is our satisfying Saturday. Maybe it's superb. Whatever it is, let's welcome this day with a lot of love and a lot of light. Let's start our Power of Dreams programming as we begin the day. Wonderful. Welcome back. And today in our Refuse to Choose, let's understand how are we becoming victims by not choosing our life. And then this new terminology that we've heard last time, it's called Cybele. So we know by now that we are a scanner. Most of us are scanners. Most of us keep flipping from one place to another, or keep thinking that okay, this is what I probably am meant to do. And here we are in this world of understanding that Abi a Cybele. Chapter 11. I am pulled in so many different directions at once that I usually can't move at all. I have half finished books, businesses, board games, weblogs, and I'll never have anything to show for any of my interests. Whatever I do, I feel like I'm rushing something else I want to do. Are you a Cybele? Did you ever wish you were 20 people? Can you name all the projects you'd love to work on? Have you been interested in most of them for a long time? Do you have a major clutter problem? Do you often mislay important parts of what you're doing? Would you love to finish a project before you move to another? But you've almost never done that. Do you love insights, revelations, discoveries that make you say, I never knew that? Are you afraid you'll never build a body of work, expertise, or reputation? If you answered yes to most of these questions, you're a Cybele type scanner. Your list of interests is not endless, but unless you suddenly became 5, 10, or even 20 different people, you can't imagine any way to do everything on it. You represent the largest group of cyclical scanners. You turn to the same group of interests over and over, and each time you find them fresh and appealing, you are happy to try new things too. But you really prefer to revisit what you already love, and a steady diet of novelty would leave you dissatisfied. So now if you're a typical Cybele, what will you do? Usually you're surrounded by lots and lots of creative clutter. Too many ideas going on. I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. You'll have stuff written down here and there and there and there. Cybeles typically are people who can't always find their materials because they have so many projects going on at the same time, they can't keep track of them. All the same, most Cybele scanners have very little tolerance for chaos and have bursts of organizing energy they find very satisfying. But order never lasts for long because when the creative urge comes, there is no patience for putting things away. Like most scanners, you're talented in many areas. And when you're using any of your talents, you're as happy as a child in a toy store. You've been told that you smile when you read, but you rarely read for long. because you'll get an idea and start creating a model or come up with a design or a small internet business. Though you do well at your job, when it comes to personal projects, you're not goal driven at all. You just enjoy mucking about in your favorite subjects. The lack of goals is a problem for you. However, because you're always starting over, you don't usually get very far with any of your projects. And down, deep down, you long to have someone to show for all the hours you spent with your interests. You wish you could present the world with a finished product or be an authority in one of the areas of interest. You've tried narrowing down your interests so you'll be able to go deeply into one of them at a time, hoping that would let you make some headway. But when you try to do that, you always feel stifled and like you're missing out on other more interesting things. So the thing about Cybils is that they all end up surrounded with too much. So I'm not sure how many of us are Cybils, but a part of that may be syncing with you. Now, to understand Cybils a little more, let's go and understand Lynn's story. One evening, not long ago, I settled in for a phone session with a woman named Lynn, who was having trouble because of her many interests. Lynn knew she was scanner and had already resolved any conflicts about choosing only one area of interest. She wanted to continue them all, which is wonderful. I even have the perfect good enough job, she says. I call it the great enough job. It gives me lots of time off and plenty of free choice about when I can do all my favorite things. Now that's wonderful, I said. What's the problem? I have two problems. First, I'm interested in too many things and I want to do them all at once. No matter which of my projects I'm drawn to, if I pass another one on my way, I'm drawn to that one. They're also appealing to me. But that means I usually don't do any of them. My other problem is that the years are passing and I am beginning to realize I'll never complete any of my great ideas. I won't have anything to show for all these interests. I can't tell you how many things I'll pick up for 5 minutes and put them down, thinking I'll get them into one of the days. It's so odd. I'm finally free to do pretty much what I want, but I waste all my time doing things I don't care about. All that free choice, and I'm stuck anyways. Ruchi, please read this. Freedom is not a Cybel's friend.
Freedom is not always a Cybel's friend. Lynn had hit on an important point that most of us miss. Freedom is not every scanner's best friend. Cybel type scanners like Lynn are receptive, open minded, and curious. They delight in unexpected connections and know they can look almost anywhere and make an exciting find. Sounds like fun, I said. It is for a while, and then it all falls down on my head. I become totally overwhelmed. That's not fun at all. Clearly, Cybils need to replace some of that freedom with structure. But what kind of structure will work for someone with dozens of interests? Can she find one underlying theme that all her interests have in common? Occasionally, Cybils can do that, but for most part, their interests are unrelated, often by choice. With this kind of problem, it looks like scanners like Lynn will never finish anything and they will never get the respect and admiration they secretly long for. But appearances can be deceptive. Cybils can be the most productive of all the scanners. Lynn believed, as most people do, that if you can't focus on one subject, you will never accomplish anything, and her experience had borne that out. But I had a surprise for her. Scanners like you who keep returning to the same interests again and again are better designed to accomplish amazing things than anyone, even specialist, I told her. How? She said with disbelief. I hardly pick up of any interest anymore, and when I do, I put them down before I finish. How are you going to fix both of those problems? They can both be fixed with the same solution, I said. We just have to take away some of that freedom you have given yourself. Penal colony, she asked, quizzically. No, just the right kind of project management. You need a schedule, I smiled. Maybe I need a mean teacher to make me buckle down, Lynn sighed. And a school bell to tell you when to change classes, I grinned. You know, that's not such a bad idea, she replied. If someone like Lynn thinks she has to choose between her beloved projects, she's lost the battle before she's begun. But she obviously can't do them all at once. When you want to do everything right now, you really do need a schedule that lets you to do one thing after another. But unless we find a way to match your schedule to the natural duration your interests require, it won't work. Don't tell me to stick with one thing for 6 months and then another. I tried that. It's suffocating. How about sticking with one thing for an hour and then another? I asked. Like high school, she exclaimed, and college. You weren't joking about that school bell. I really do remember liking to hear the bell ring and heading over to a whole new class. I liked pulling out the new notebook and getting my books from the locker. You think an hour is about right for you? I asked. Yes, at least it was back then. Any class that lasted longer, like science labs or drawing classes, made me uncomfortable. My mind would start wandering after about an hour. This looked like a good fit because Lynn already knew how long her interest duration was. If you're like Lynn, you can use the name Life Design Model, she did.
So very important. Some of us, like I realize that about me. These days I have a little too much time and I just don't know I'm doing stuff which is it doesn't make sense because I don't know when to close it. When I start something, I don't know when to close it. So sometimes a schedule, because at the moment the schedule has gone for a six. So sometimes schedule is important. Sometimes you need to have someone accountable. You need to have alarms on your watches that they have to pull you out of some zone that you're already in and sometimes to get into a zone that you're not in. So if you're a cyber, one model is you could probably go back to your scheduling because that is something I am anyways a believer that what gets scheduled gets done. So whether it's an open schedule or whether it's a timeline schedule, but if you give a date map to it, remember even in the book by Stephen Scott, we said that any goal will turn into a dream if you have a deadline to it. If it's open ended, it will only be a khayali pulao jo pakega hi nahi, right? So very very important to adapt ourselves. Now what could work for us could be a schedule, like time bound schedule. Other alternative is the school day life design model. So again, let's understand this also.
I
Yes, Ruchi.
read this letter to Lynn. It was from a client reporting in her success with the school day model. I started a home business, a little public relations company. It was entirely by choice, but now I'm in heaven. Every morning at breakfast, I study Asian history. It's a hobby I've had for years, but never had time for. Now I start my days reading history and looking at maps. Then, after an hour or so, I move to creative mode. Is it the coffee? And I work on speeches or brochures for my advertising clients. Afternoons are for running my business. I meet online with a virtual assistant, mostly troubleshooting and planning, twice a month. I spend my afternoon on the phone with a coach to make sure I don't slack off on marketing. When I know we have an appointment coming up, I always get my work done. In the evening, I have sessions with agency clients or watch an old movie. I always fall asleep reading the latest notification book. I could work
Non-fiction book.
non-fiction book. I could work at the same schedule every day forever, but doing any of this for more than a few hours wears me out. She sounds like my twin. I'm sold. But I wonder if I really need a school bell, Lynn joked. I'm sure you can set something up with your kitchen timer, but you really need a scanner planner to write your schedule in. I will get one tomorrow, she said. You might have to make your own, I said. This could be true for you as well.
In the Western world, there's something called a Pomodoro timer. It's very, very important. Pomodoro is a word for tomato. It looks like that. It goes off whenever you've planned it. 45 minutes, 25 minutes. So some people like by that is there for you to go up and about. Like, you have to do some movement after 25 minutes because they say the smoking, sitting is the next new smoking. Because if you're sitting down, you're wasting some precious time of your life by reducing your lifespan. So similarly, whatever works for you, whether your alarm works for you, whether scanner planner works for you, whether a deadline with a goal works for you, whatever works for you, please embrace it. Now, scanner planner, we already are familiar with, yet we will again go through science because every author has a different terminology. We've done this before, but we'll again revisit it. Yes, please.
You know what a daily appointment planner is, but you can't go out and buy what you need, and you can't even draw a scanner planner yourself until you have done a few tryouts with your life design model. As you design your planner, open your scanner daybook and select an area over on the right side of the right hand page to write down any thoughts that aren't connected to projects. Be alert for fleeting memories of things you love but haven't done in a while, such as singing, dancing, drawing, or reading one page of a favorite author. Even sitting outside for a few moments before your turn in for the night. When your scanner planner is set up, you will enter one of those activities at the top of every page. These entries will remind you to do all the things that have no purpose but pleasure. To sing in your kitchen, or to put on music and dance for a few minutes, or to draw a quick sketch for your coffee cup of your coffee cup. These are such small things that they are easily overlooked, but never underestimate them. They open up doors of sensation that can make the difference between an ordinary life and the glorious one. To a scanner, they are like vitamins. Now give the school day life design model a try. Keep your pencil and eraser nearby and see if you can follow along with what Lynn did. Make a list of your favorite projects. First, Lynn made a list of all those things she wished she could do right away.
So if you remember in a scanner planner, we like, in a scanner notebook also, this is the pattern we've been writing, whatever we want to do. Now, what is the difference here? The difference here is, for example, you have a project, and in the project you say you need to start something. So you're just going to divide it as per timing. Like in scanner notebook, you're just writing your dreams, like just writing them down. Okay, these are my dreams I want to do. Now in scanner planner, it comes with time. So the first thing that we're going to do is make a list of our favorite projects, whatever the favorite projects are, which we've done actually in scanner notebook. But again, new ideas keep coming up, so we'll start that. Now in your scanner notebooks, I do not know how many of you have bought or have divided the sections according to the 5 or 6 or 7 divisions. It was very important to actually start dividing, so your idea for this field is in one section, otherwise it will be total chaos. Now this lady has 5 ideas. Her ideas are starting the window greenhouses for her favorite herbs, creating a board game about famous travelers in history, streamlining her PR company and finding more clients, designing and sewing toys for her grandchildren, writing down memoirs. Now try out the model you've chosen. Again, we have the choice. Let's understand this.
Anything you can work on paper, but you have to really try out a schedule like this to see if it fits. So Lynn took 4 days to see if changing her projects every hour actually worked for her. When she got back to me, she was very enthusiastic. I'm doing things I haven't done for years. I really love this, she said happily. It looks like the school day model suits you perfectly, I said. Well, not perfectly, she said. Make duration adjustments based on your tryout. I must have changed since I was in school. 1 hour isn't enough for each of my interests. I would prefer 2 hours. Well, I reminded her, you have got 5 items on that list. That's a long day. So she moved some activities around and made some adjustments. Write up your adjusted schedule. Here's what Lynn wrote Monday to Friday. 9 a.m. Study history and take notes for a possible course in adult education program. 11 a.m. Set up shelves for one window greenhouse, order seeds or buy soil and pots or do some reading on the subject. 1 p.m. Work with assistant on my public relations business. 3 p.m. Work on my board game or go for a walk and record ideas for it. Evenings. Design or cut patterns or sew latest toy while watching TV with family. Saturday and Sunday. Morning. Write memoirs. The rest of the day, visit daughter and grandchild or do business. Maintenance. Assemble press kits, do mailing list maintenance, or try out new software. She drew up a week's worth of pages to reflect the schedule and made a number of copies. They represented her scanner planner. This planner is having a very big effect on me, she said, when she called in a week later. It's keeping me honest like an appointment with a doctor would. Once I see that I'm supposed to work on my board game, I really do it. What's new is that it doesn't just remind me to move to the next project, it gives me permission. Permission, I asked. Yes, part of the reason I wasn't doing what I loved was that it always made me feel a little guilty that I had more important things to do. I never would have admitted that to myself until I used this planner last week. Now, when it's time to do something I really enjoy, that's just for me, I tell myself, hey, it's on the schedule. I have to do it. I have really missed doing all these things. I used to look at the beautiful fabric and the pieces of my board game so sadly. I just couldn't figure out how to do it all. Now I'm having such a good time. I feel like I'm on vacation. I can't remember when I have treated myself so well. This is just great, and I never want to go back to where I was. But I could hear something in her voice. But I queried. Well, we didn't exactly take care of my other problem, she said. I don't want to be unappreciative, and I can't tell you how much I love my new schedule. But what will you ever accomplish along the long haul? I asked. Well, yes, she replied. You have only one started you have only started having a real schedule and getting something done on every project every day. So you haven't seen the results yet, I said. Sure, I have, Lynn said. The results are dramatic. I'm having a great time and I'm not stuck anymore. But I still don't see this going anywhere. I have this feeling that I'm doing a good job of amusing myself, but I will never have anything to show for it. You mean a finished project of some kind? I asked. Well, yes. It's what I have never been able to do. What will I ever have to show for myself? It sounds egoistical, but it matters to me. I would like the world to know I'm here. What I meant by results wasn't that you felt good, I said. I meant that when you add a little to something every day, after a while, you can see it changing. If you stick to the schedule or any good schedule, you're building something in small increments. That's how skyscrapers get built. Every day you move each part of the process forward a little, and every few days you build one floor. The following days you do the same, and you build another one on top of the first. If you keep it up, you have got a skyscraper. I do, she said doubtfully. Well, you are a scanner with more than one project. You might have 5 skyscrapers, I laughed. If you continue to follow the schedule you created in 1 year, you could write the first draft of your memoirs, set up an herb garden in every window, prepare and teach a dozen history classes, and finish your board game. Maybe even get it produced. You work on something a couple of hours every day, and over time you could build the Great Wall of China if you lived long enough. Of course, she said. How did I miss that?
Did you see the normal common thing every day? One single step or few steps a day constantly on your project, and you will definitely hit a point where the project is completed. Problem kya hoti hai? Half the times we just resort to not doing something for many days. आज बहुत सारा डाइटिंग कर लिया, कल बिल्कुल नहीं किया। आज बहुत सारा वॉकिंग कर लिया, कल बिल्कुल नहीं किया। आज बहुत सारा टाइम लगा दिया इस चीज को करने में, कल बिल्कुल नहीं किया। The key is in step by step, every single day diligently. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. Now, scanners have a lot more projects going on, but सारे project ऐसे धप पड़ जाते हैं. कुछ भी doesn't see the light. Why? Because of the very fact that we become light. So that is why schedule is important. Now, in schedule, if you saw, they have equally given time for your passion as well. I'm not going to say 6 hours of fun and 6 hours of work. No, it's not like that. But when you want to have fun, it's not like you have to say, "Chalo, abhi nahi, we'll do it later," because it's on your schedule planner, your scanner planner. You say, "Okay, let me do it." Now, scanners and time. It's a regular reminder. Cybils are the best example of scanners' typical problem with time that I discussed in chapter 3, which was about scanner panic. Now, it's easy for scanners to forget about things like incremental changes because they don't always understand time too well. I told Lynn. They live in an endless now, especially cyclical scanners. I know, she said. I thought that was a good thing. Everyone says you should live in the present. I don't think they knew about people who forget there's a future, I replied. which is another reason Cybils need schedules and calendars up on their walls where they can constantly see them. Visual ways of displaying time are just what a Cybil scanner needs, not, not only to see where she's going, but also to remind of how far she's come. So please understand, our progress is to be gauged. We are moving steps, yeah. We forget to even gauge our progress. And gauging a progress or accountability is very, very important. It's very important because it motivates us. So very important for us to understand that it's a reminder that, okay, do this now, do that now, do that now. When Cybils didn't notice what they've accomplished. So let's see about those that जो समझ में नहीं आता क्या क्या accomplish किया.
I was working on a live design model for Celeste, an artist whose work wasn't suited to the school day model, when the issue of accomplishment came up again. I go nowhere, she said. I can only stick with the art of for a few months tops. I've never have more than one or two pieces finished. Celeste creates, among other things, sculptures constructed from found objects. She builds fantastic pieces, some of them 6 feet tall, others much smaller, by working with great intensity for a few months. But then she gets completely tired of the process. At some time, I can't look at another scrap and think of a sculpture. It looks like junk to me. That's when Celeste usually picks up her guitar and spends her evenings writing songs and performing them in small clubs. But after a few months, this too loses its charms. Someone wanted to make a big production out of the songs, but by the time he came along, I was tired of making music. A year ago, I have been all excited about putting together a book about design, but dropped that like do everything else. Then when I got bored with the singing scene, I got very interested in that book again. Other interest she returns to over and over, including renovating her home, scuba diving, and baking. I don't stick with anything for more than a few months at most, she said, regretfully, and I don't have any choice about it. I never know when I will get bored or excited about one of these things, and they're impossible to do without that excitement. But you can't plan anything that way. I should be having gallery shows and a CD of my music and a finished book by now. But I would have to bite into something like a pit bull and never let go for that. And that's not going to happen. Celeste is actually living her life according to her inner clock, which is a very practical idea when you have the freedom to do it. If you are like Celeste and find that a written schedule restricts your ability to respond to the unexpected arrival of a creative impulse, you need a different kind of life design model, one that gives you a name to what you are doing. To Celeste, impulse is creative fuel, and when she responds to it, she gets her best insights. Every scanner knows what it's like to be suddenly taken with a desire to stop what he is doing and pick up something else that calls to him. Often he tries to resist these impulses or is ashamed when he gives in to them. If that's something you do, I would advise you to just give in. Pick up any project that calls you and give it an hour, a day, or a week, however long it keeps you fascinated, and then put it away and get back to what you were doing. This arrangement is called the Random Acts of Passion Life Design Model, and it might be just right for how your creativity operates. But it won't take care of a Cybel's problem with progress. Celeste feels like she's going in circles, accomplishing nothing. I remember what she had told me when she first asked for a session some months earlier, and I reminded her of it. Celeste, you wrote 2 one-act plays with music, you did the sets, and you performed in both of them. You have written and performed dozens of songs over the last 5 years. And 1 year ago, you sold 2 pieces of your artwork to interior designers for a lot of money. She nodded. That's true. Why don't I ever remember that? Pretty good, isn't it? I have to remember the past better, but I still can't see ahead. I never have a sense of where I'm going. Then I thought of something a Potter had told me, one of those simple things that stick in your mind because they make so much sense. She always set herself the goal of finishing 1,000 pots each year because it gave her a sense of direction and a goal to aim for. Maybe there was a way for Celeste to do something similar. And perhaps there was a way to adapt that new idea into something like a progress report at the same time. Why don't you do that, Celeste? Can you set some yearly goals? Even though I never know how long I'm going to do anything, she asked. Sure, I answered. I assume you get involved in each of your projects at least once a year, right? Just to make sure you're covered, you should set a goal that's more than 1 year away. And then at the end of that time, schedule something big to celebrate its completion. If you schedule a show, for example, you would have to get something ready, wouldn't you? That could be tricky, she said. You really need a certain number of pieces for a show. I can't predict things like that. You could do something else then, an event where people would show up, so it would be a real deadline, not something you could ignore. How about a New Year's Eve progress report party? Tell your friends to come with their goals too. That idea took Celeste's fancy. She set a 15-month goal of making and selling another sculpture, recording a CD with 5 new songs, writing 2 more performance pieces, and coming up with some new ideas for sets, making some headway with her design book, and going scuba diving at least once.
Did you observe that Celeste has been having a problem and she can't finish her goals? But the minute she has a deadline, the minute she has a schedule, and the minute she has a long term goal, things are coming into place. So we've always talked about the power of short term goals, medium term goals, and long term goals. Now, until we do them, until we have a schedule and we follow the deadline, we cannot progress in life. And now, if you share that with people, if you talk to your friends and family about your goals, and if you have accountability, it's like a cherry on the cake. Let's understand this further.
I saw her 2 weeks later and asked how she was doing. Well, my goals may not be very ambitious because I'm still not sure when I'll be working on anything, she said. But setting this 15-month deadline has radically changed the way I work. I always tend to check my interest level so I can figure out what I'm into, the music or the sculpture or whatever. That's not new. But for the first time, I know where I am, how far along I am. I actually know what I want done before the end of the month. I have never had the ability to plan ahead except in school, which I always detested. I knew I couldn't do good creative work on command. So in my personal life, I've always given myself complete freedom. You have too many talents for complete freedom, I smiled. That only works for Picasso. He didn't write songs and novels. She laughed. Yes, he just got up every day and painted. Or didn't. Ah, the simple life. Celeste still ran into trouble with the unpredictability of the peaks and troughs of interest in each of her projects. That Potter had a simpler life than I do, she said. I wish I only had to do 1,000 of any one thing. I would know exactly what my priorities should be every day. I recommended something I used for myself, the rotating priorities board.
Please let's understand this. This is a little different from what we studied. जो भी हमने पढ़ा है was kind of a brush up from Stephen Scott's books and other authors. And this is something very interesting. It's called the rotating priorities board. So what does it mean? Let's read.
Rotating your priorities has a number of benefits. For someone like Celeste, it gives her life a shape and some structure by simply confirming the arrival of each interest. But if you have set a goal, seeing your priorities also serves as a gentle nudge by letting you know which of your projects could use some attention today. I suggested that she use a simple chessboard, write each project on a sticky note, and arrange them like chess pieces. You can lead with a sticky note that says, write a song, and let the other project sticky notes fall back behind this one, I suggested. Celeste loved that idea and created a felt covered chessboard big enough to be seen across the room, which she mounted on a wall right under her 15-month goal calendar. The calendar was an ingenious grid that showed at a glance what percentage of each goal had been accomplished by now. Close it was to the final date and the New Year Eve's party. For the rotating priorities board, she had sewn 4 Velcro-backed stuffed squares, each a different color, one of each of her passions, and she moved them around like chess pieces. I feel like I just got the compass for my life, she said, pointing to the goal calendar and the priority board. I know which way is north and which is south. I know how much I still got to do, which I really like. I can't tell you what a difference that simple thing makes. Changing the order of what I'm working on actually feels good, I think. Okay, looks like music showed up. Hello, music. And I moved that piece to the front. I didn't know if priorities would work for me because if I fell behind with the songwriting, for instance, but my head was full of art, what would I do then? But the most amazing thing seems to be happening. When I look at the wall and see I have fallen behind in one of those areas, it becomes interesting, even if it wasn't interesting before. The rotating priorities board must do the same for you. Try it and see.
So let's understand why is, thank you, Rahul sir. That will be all for today. Now it's time for Surya Namaskar. Why does it have to be important? Why is rotating priority? Sometimes when there's boredom coming in our life and we're like, abhi iska man nahi hai, schedule kiya hai, but man nahi hai. Then again, we have a choice to move what we want to do. We have all of them written in front of us in large and clear words. Okay, let me not do this right now. Let me do this because ye bhi meri priority mein hai. And I'll do this later. It's not like this is on the back burner, but I have a choice when I'm bored and I want to do something different. At least I can move that bit there. So see if that works for you also. Experiment it and see it. Now let's do our sun salutations and then we'll come back to our letting go.
The Surya Namaskar with mantras. Om Mitraye Namaha. Om Ravaye Namaha. Om Suryaye Namaha. Om Bhanave Namaha. Om Khagaye Namaha. Om Pushne Namaha. Om Hiranyagarbhaye Namaha. Om Marichaye Namaha. Om Adityay Namaha. Om Savitre Namaha. Om Arkay Namaha. Om Bhaskaray Namaha. Salutations to the universal friend. Salutations to the resplendent sun. Salutations to the energy that induces activity within us. Salutations to the one who illumines. Salutations to the sun moving across the sky. Salutations to the giver of strength. Salutations to the golden cosmic self. Salutations to the Lord of the dawn. Salutations to the son of Aditi, the cosmic mother. Salutations to the benevolent mother. Salutations to the energy that we praise and to the one who guides us to salvation. The sun salutation now with the names of the postures both in Sanskrit and English. Pranamasan, Hastuthanasan, Madhastasan, left leg back, Ashvasanchalanasana, Parvatasan, and hold this position. And now slowly progressing into the deeper version of Parvatasan, Adho Mukh Svanasana. Ashtang Namaskar, Bhujangasana, Parvatasan. Left forward, Ashvasanchalanasana, Padahastasana, Hastuthanasan, Pranamasan. On the right side, prayer position, raised arms pose, hand to feet pose, right leg back, equestrian pose, mountain pose, hold mountain pose, and slowly moving into the deeper version of mountain, the downward facing dog. Salute with 8 limbs, Cobra. Press back to mountain. Right forward, equestrian pose. Hand to feet pose. Raised arms position. prayer pose. One round of the sun salutation with awareness on the breathing. So exhaling our hands to the chest, pranam. Inhaling as we bend back. We exhale as we fold forward. Left leg back, inhale as we're arching back. Exhale into the forward. Hold the breath for knees, chest, chin. Inhale as we arch back. Exhale into the forward. Left leg forward, inhale. This is a back bend. Exhale whenever we bend forward. Inhale as we bend back. Exhale, hands to the chest. And on the right, deep breathing. Exhale. A deep inhale. A long exhale. Right leg back with an inhale. And exhale. Hold the breath. Inhale. And exhale. Right leg forward with a deep inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale.
After taking our blessings from Sun, it's time for us to go into a world of letting go. Letting go is one of the most important things we've learned by now. And remember, we have been talking about how apathy works, how depression works. And today we'll do the deep dive, the deep science thinking of blaming. Why do we blame? What do we get out of blaming? And what are the repercussions and exactly the entire science of blaming? Ruchi, I'll begin it. And then when I need you, I'll ask you, right? So blame. One of the biggest blocks to overcome in getting out of depression and apathy is that of blame. Now, blame is a whole subject in itself. Looking into it is rewarding. To begin with, there's a lot of payoffs to blame. We get to be innocent, we get to enjoy self-pity, we get to be the martyr and the victim, and we get to be the recipients of sympathy. Oh, poor you, this happened to you. Oh, this did happen in my life. That's why I did this. So, it's very nice to blame and get away with everything. Now, perhaps the biggest payoff of blame is that we get to be the innocent victim and the other party is the bad one. We see this game played out in the media constantly, such as endless blame games dramatized in a multitude of controversies, mudslinging, character assassinations, and lawsuits. In addition to the emotional payoff, blame has considerable financial benefits. Therefore, it is a tempting package to be the innocent victim and is often financially rewarded. Now, how do you do that? When lawsuits are happening and you're blaming somebody, you're getting something out of it. There's a very huge culture of suing somebody. I'll sue you because I blame you. Now, to understand this, let's go and understand this example. There was a famous example of this in New York City many years ago. A public conveyance accident occurred. People poured out of the front door of the vehicle and gathered in a small crowd, furnishing their names and addresses of future financial benefit. Bystanders quickly caught on the game, secretly climbed in the back of the vehicle so they could then emerge from the front as injured. Innocent victims. They hadn't even been in the accident, but they were going to collect a reward. Blame is the world's greatest excuse. It enables us to remain limited and small without feeling guilty. But there's a cost, the cost of our freedom. Also, the role of victim brings with it a self-perception of weakness, vulnerability, and helplessness, which are the major components of apathy and depression. The first step out of blame is to see that we are choosing to blame. Remember, choosing to blame, choosing to be a victim. Other people who have had similar circumstances had forgotten, and handled the same situation in a totally different way. We earlier saw the case of Viktor Frankl, who chose to forgive the Nazi prison guards and to see a hidden gift in the experience at the concentration camps. Because others, such as Frankl, have chosen not to blame, that option is also open to us. We have to be honest and realize that we are blaming because we choose to blame. This is true no matter how justified circumstances may appear to be. It is not a matter of right or wrong. It is merely a matter of taking responsibility for our own consciousness. It is a totally different situation to see that we choose to blame rather than think that we have to blame. In these circumstances, the mind often thinks, well, if the other person or event is not to blame, then I must be. Blaming others or ourselves is simply not necessary. But unfortunately, this is what all of us are living in. Blame, 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 blame. तुमसे ये नहीं हो पाया, मुझसे ये नहीं हो पाया, blaming. Now, this attraction of blame arises in early childhood as a daily occurrence in the classroom, playground, and at home among siblings. Blame is a central issue in the endless court proceedings and lawsuits that characterize our society. In truth, blame is just another way of the negative programs that we have allowed our mind to buy because we never stop to question it. Why must something always be someone's fault? Why must the whole concept of wrong be introduced to the situation in the first place? Why must one of us be wrong, bad, or at fault? What seemed like a good idea at the time may not have turned out well. That's all. Unfortunate events may have just happened. Now, to overcome blame, it is necessary to look at the secret satisfaction and enjoyment we get out of self-pity, resentment, anger, self-excuses, and to begin to surrender all of these little payoffs. The purpose of this step is to move up from being a victim of our feelings to choosing to have them. Now, if we merely acknowledge and observe them, begin to disassemble them, and surrender the component parts, then we are consciously excising choice. In this way, we make a major move out of the morass of helplessness. So again, in your family, in your life, in your children, in your everyone, now you start observing कि कितना blame game चलता रहता है. तुमने ये नहीं किया तो ये हुआ. तुमने ये नहीं किया तो. Start dissuading people from blaming, especially yourself. When you start looking around you, you'll observe how deep this conditioning of blame game is in society. It is helpful in overcoming resistance and taking responsibility for our negative programs and feelings to see that they come from the small aspect of ourselves. It is very nature, the smallest part of ourselves, to think negatively. So there is an unconscious tendency to agree readily to its limited viewpoint. But that's not the whole thing. But that's not the whole of a beingness. For outside and beyond the smaller self is a greater self. So again, somebody can tell me in chat box, what is smaller self and what is greater self? Quickly, by now we know it. So I'm again going to repeat, but that is the, what is this? Okay, and what is subconscious? I'm talking about what is smaller self, what is greater self. We may not be experiencing it, but it is there. If we let go of our resistance to it, we can begin to experience it. Depression, yes, Jitendraji, absolutely. The smaller self is ego, yes, Vijayji, 100%. And what is the greater self? What is the greater self that guides us all the time with whether we know the higher self? Soul, absolutely. Thank you for your answers. So just see, let's read again. We may not be conscious of our inner greatness, of our higher self guiding us. We may not be experiencing it, but it is there. Those of you who are doing Unified with me, you've already started to experience it. Now, if we let go of our resistance to it, we can begin to experience it. हम resist करते हैं ना कि नहीं soul ने guide किया कि gut feeling हुआ, intuition हुआ और हमने नहीं किया. So what's happening? We're further getting stuck in that world. Depression and apathy therefore result from the willingness to hang on to the small self and its belief systems. I, me, and am. Plus, the resistance to a higher self कि नहीं तो ऐसे आएगा, I doubt it. तो आप अपने सोल की बात, higher self की बात नहीं सुनते हो, which consists of all the opposites of negative feelings. कभी भी higher self आपको negative guide नहीं करेगा. जब negative guide कर रहा है, you are in the wrong influence. There's some aura which somebody is breaking into your aura. So you already know how to do that, how to safeguard yourself. Now, it is the nature of the universe that everything in it is represented by its equal and opposite. Thus, the electron's equal and opposite is a positron. Every force has an equal and opposite counter force. Yin is compensated for yang. There is fear, but there is courage. There's hatred, but there's love. There's timidity, there's bravery. There's stinginess, there's generosity. In the human psyche, every feeling has its opponent. The way out of negativity, the way out of the willingness to acknowledge and let go of negativity, and at the time, the willingness to let go results in your being positive. Depression and apathy are the result of being at the effect of the negative polarity. How does this work in everyday's life? Again, let's take a look at a life. Now, someone's birthday is there, it's approaching very quickly. Now, there are things that have happened in the past, and we have resentments, and we are not willing to do anything for the birthday. Somehow, it seems impossible to get out and shop for a birthday present. We resent having to spend the money. The mind conjures up all kinds of justifications. I don't have time to shop. I can't forget how mean she was. You should apologize to me in person. These two things are operating, clinging to the negative and the smallness in ourselves, resisting the positive and the greatness in ourselves. The way out is apathy, is to see, first of all, that I can't is an I won't. In looking at I won't, we see that it is there because of negative feelings. And as they come up, they can acknowledge and let go. It is also apparent that we are resisting positive feelings. These feelings of love, generosity, forgiveness can be looked at one by one. We can sit down and imagine the quality of generosity and let go, resisting it. Is there something generous within ourselves? In this case, we may not be willing to apply to the birthday person in the beginning. Why? Because we're clouded by उसने ये बुरा किया मेरे साथ, उसने ऐसा किया, नहीं मेरे को तो उसके लिए करना ही नहीं. उसने क्यों बुरा किया मेरे साथ? क्या किया मैंने उस समय कि उसने बुरा किया मेरे साथ? क्या उसने देखा कि मैंने ये अच्छा किया? क्या पता उसको पता ही नहीं हो कि मैंने किया? मुझे लगता है उसको पता है, बट क्या पता ही नहीं हो? उसका पर्सपेक्टिव क्या है? What is her side of the story? All of us are made of stories, right? Now, what we can begin to see is the existence of such a quality as generosity within our consciousness. We begin to see that as we let go, resisting the feeling of generosity, because there is generosity. Satya hai ki generosity is there. We do, in fact, enjoy giving to others under certain circumstances. We begin to remember the positive flood of feeling that comes up when we express gratitude and acknowledge the person, we acknowledge the gifts that other person have given us. Now we see that we have really been suppressing a desire to forgive, and we let go of the resistance of being forgiving. There emerges the willingness to let go of the grievance. As we do this, we stop identifying with a small self and become consciously aware that there is something in us that is greater. It is always there, but hidden from view. This process is applicable in all negative situations. It enables us to change the context by which we perceive our current situation. It enables us to give it a new and different meaning. It lifts us from being the helpless victim to the subconscious, the conscious chooser. In the example given, it doesn't mean that we have to rush out and buy a birthday gift, but it does mean that we are now aware that we are in the current position out of choice. We have total freedom with greater latitude of action and choice. This is a much higher state of consciousness than the helpless victim who's trapped by a past resentment. So we don't want to become victims anymore. If we really want to get out of it, हमारे पास choice है. हमें दूसरा पहलू देखना है. हमें अपने आप से interconnect करना है. One of the laws of consciousness is we are only subject to a negative thought or belief if we consciously say that it applies to us. अब मैं कल के रात को किसी से मिली at one of my dinners that had gone, and that man said, you know what? I've joined EO. मैंने अपने आप को बहुत फेवर किया because मैं तो हमेशा हर जगह लेट पहुंचता हूँ. टाइम पे तो पहुंच ही नहीं सकता. That's his belief, and it's applying to him again and again and again because he's saying it. Now I told him one thing. I said, just stop saying it. I said, you've joined EO, okay, you're happy that you've joined. Start saying, okay, this is around great time now. I'm always on time. He's like, okay, I'll try it. So if we are realizing what are we aware of, conscious किस चीज के लिए हैं हम, then we will realize कि negative thoughts and beliefs जो हमारी हैं, we are conditioned towards them, and only we can change them. कोई बाहर से आकर नहीं करेगा. Somebody can come and be the trigger, but final step हमें लेना पड़ेगा. Somebody can come and push us, क्योंकि walk towards this step, but चलना तो हमें ही पड़ेगा. Now, how does this work in everyday life? Let's take a common example. The newspaper reports unemployment is at a high, it's at a record high. The television news commentator says no jobs are available. At this point, we are free to refuse to buy into the negative thought form. We can say instead, unemployment does not apply to me. By refusing to accept the negative belief of it now, it has no hold over our life. Again, उस बात को याद करें कि कोई भी कुछ भी बोल दे, आपको क्या अपने अंदर रजिस्टर करना है आपके ऊपर डिपेंड करता है. अदरवाइज यहां से किसी ने बोला और यहां से निकल गया. नेगेटिविटी कितना आपको अपने अंदर सिंक इन करवानी है डिपेंड्स अपॉन यू. किसी ने कुछ नेगेटिव बोल दिया, बहुत धंधा बहुत मंदा चल रहा है, अगर आपने उसको अपने ऊपर लाने दिया तो हाँ आपका भी मंदा हो जाएगा. बट इफ यू से ना, नॉट मेरे साथ तो नहीं, आपने उसको बाउंस बैक कर दिया. लाइक इमेजिन अ बॉल कमिंग टू यू विद फोर्स एंड लाइक स्टॉप, द बॉल कांट हिट यू, बट इफ यू अलाउ द बॉल एंड यू गो बैक, व्हाई? दिस इज अस. हम किसको चूज कर रहे हैं, नेगेटिविटी को या पॉजिटिविटी को, ब्लेम गेम को कि ग्लैड गेम को? Examples from personal experience reveal during periods of high unemployment, such as other World War II, there was no problem getting a job. As a matter of fact, one could have 2 or 3 jobs at the same time. Dishwasher, waiter, bellhop, cab driver, bartender, factory worker, greenhouse worker, window washer. This was a consequence of a belief system that said unemployment applies to others but not to me. Now, when there's a will, there's a way out. There's always been a willingness to relinquish pride in return for employment. Now, this beautiful line that we've heard a gazillion times, when there's a will, there's a way out. Will ही तो important है. Mansha, intention, sankalp, himmat, courage. कि हाँ, I will myself to do it and I am willing to do it and I will do it and I have the courage to do it. बस, that is the game. That's the game changer. Another example हमारे belief system का क्या है? Epidemic diseases के बारे में. A few years ago, 14 acquaintances were observed closely during an epidemic of flu. Of the 14 people, 8 came out with the flu, but 6 did not. Now, what is important here is to note that these 8 people came down with the flu, but the 6 did not. In any epidemic, there are people who do not catch it. Even during the depth of the depression, there were still people who became wealthy and even millionaires. The thought of poverty was catching in those days, but somehow these people did not buy into it. Therefore, did not apply to them. For negativity to apply to our life, we must first subscribe to it. Secondly, give it the energy of belief. If we have the power to make negativity manifest in our lives, obviously, our mind has the power to make it converse it come true. So very, very important for us to understand this. Now, choosing the positive. हमारे पास हमेशा choice है. We all agree by now, right? अगर हमने ब्लेम करने को खत्म किया एंड ग्लैड गेम खेला, वो भी हमारे पास चॉइस है. लेकिन what is the science of choosing the positive? One surprising effect of the willingness to let go of inner negativity is a discovery that the polar opposite of the negative feelings exist. ये अपने आप को आपको कंफर्म करना होगा कि यहाँ अच्छा है, बुरा है तो अच्छा भी है. अगर लेजीपन है तो एक्टिवनेस भी है, कि हर चीज का एक opposite hai. There is an inner reality that we can term our inner greatness or higher self. It has much more power than the inner negativity. In return for letting go of the payoffs that we were getting from the negative position, we are now surprised by the positive payoffs that stem from the power of our positive beliefs and feelings. For example, when we let go of blame, we experience forgiveness. हमने पढ़ा था ना कि जब हम ब्लेम करना बंद कर देते हैं, एकदम से हमें forgiveness आ जाती है कि अरे I can forgive, I've let go, I moved on. Our higher self, which we might say is a composite of our higher feelings, has almost unlimited capabilities. It can create employment opportunities. It can create situations for the healing of relationships. It has the power to create the opportunity for loving relationships, financial opportunities, physical healing. As we stop giving authority and energy to all the negative programs that stem from our thinking, we stop giving away our powers to others and begin to own it back again. The result in the rise of self-esteem, the return of creativity, and the opening of a positive vision of the future that replaces fearfulness. We can experience with somebody and we can experiment with someone with whom we have a poor relationship due to our holding of resentment. कितने लोगों ने एक्सपीरियंस किया था जब हम मैजिक बुक कर रहे थे कि बाकी सब चीजें कि हमने लेट गो किया, हमने उनकी तारीफें लिखी, हमने फ्लिप साइड पे देखा कि इस सिचुएशन में ये अच्छा हुआ, काउंट ऑफ ब्लेसिंग्स चैप्टर भी हमने किया, तो रिलेशनशिप कितने हील हुए. क्यों? एकदम से आपने रिलीज करा जो आपको इलविल थी उस इंसान के लिए, और एकदम से उस पर्सन ने आपको एक वाइब्रेशन दे रही कि अरे एवरीथिंग इज गुड, सिर्फ सोचने से। आपने कॉन्वर्जेशन तो करी नहीं उनके साथ. सो हाउ वंडरफुल, यू हैव एक्सपेरिमेंटेड एंड यू एक्सपीरियंस्ड आल्सो. The purpose for this is to tell ourselves is strictly to learn, that is, we want to become familiar with the laws of consciousness and to watch the phenomena that occurs. We acknowledge the payoffs we have been getting from our negative feelings. We surrender each component and at the same time let go resisting from within us, which would be willing to heal the relationship. At this point, it is not necessary to have any personal contact with the other person. We're not doing the experiment for our own sake and not for them. As we look within ourselves, we ask, what is the anger covering up? Underneath the anger, we are likely to find fear. Aside from the fear, we also find jealousy. We find competitiveness and all the little components of the feelings complex that have blocked the relationship. The simultaneously feeling of letting go of the negative and letting go of resisting the positive result in a shift of inner energies. एकदम से inner energy बढ़ जाती है, एकदम से it's accompanied by subtle change in self-respect, self-esteem, self-feeling, एकदम से things become. Why? Because letting go of our resistance, so the willingness to have something positive happen in a relationship, is that all that is required and which is necessary. We can then just sit back and watch what occurs. So just a quick question to those of you जो कुछ नहीं कर पा रहे और चाह रहे हैं करना, प्लीज बड़ा बड़ा सामने कहीं लिख दो, आई एम विलिंग टू लेट गो ऑफ द सिचुएशन और आई एम विलिंग टू एम्ब्रेस दिस इन माय लाइफ. विलिंग ही नहीं होता है आधी बार. हम चाहते हैं करना लेकिन एक्चुअली हम रेडी तैयार नहीं होते. तैयार नहीं होते तो विलिंग नहीं होते, विलिंग नहीं होते तो कुछ होता ही नहीं है. सो इसलिए बहुत 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 इंपॉर्टेंट है. वी आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन व्हाट वी गेट इट, कि क्या मिलेगा, क्या होगा, कब होगा, पता नहीं. We are only interested in moving our own position in the matter, and then we just watch what happens. A very rewarding experience usually ensues, which will take different forms depending on the circumstances. Another cause for apathy is a residual of a previously experienced traumatic overwhelm, which has not been resolved. The mind projects on the future with expectation that the past will be repeated. When we discover this unconscious dynamic, we can choose to look again at the emotional complex, disassemble it into component parts, let go of the negative aspects, and let go for resistance to the positive ones. As we do this, our perspective of the future changes. We can forgive ourselves at the time of the previous emotional overwhelm. We simply didn't know how to handle it. There were a lot of residuals that left us emotionally disabled at that time. ठीक है, उस समय हुआ, बहुत emotional हुआ, ऊपर नीचे हुए. So what? But because in the unconscious mind, there is no such thing as time, we can choose at any time in the present to heal the past event. Now, isn't this beautiful? हमारे subconscious mind में timing का कोई परिभाषा ही नहीं है. 1000 साल पहले हुआ था किसी लाइफ में, 10,000 साल पहले हुआ था या अभी हुआ है, it doesn't matter. कल हुआ, it doesn't matter. हीलिंग हम कभी भी कर सकते हैं, आज भी कर सकते हैं. कोई मनमुटाव अगर 2 दिन पहले है या 20 साल पहले, हम आज भी कर सकते हैं हील. बस इंटेंशन विलिंग होना चाहिए. And then see the magic. Our higher self begins to create a new context for it. We can see the hidden gifts. So we can turn the page, please. We can end up acknowledging with gratitude that it gave us a new opportunity to learn, to grow, and to acquire wisdom. हमेशा hidden gift खोजना है, कभी भी कुछ भी wrong हो जाए. क्या सीख मिली? One of the most common areas in which we see this emotional crippling is after divorce. All too often it is followed by bitterness and the impaired capacity to create a new loving relationship. The unwillingness to let go of the blame continues the emotional crippling, which can go for years or even a lifetime. When we come into bitterness, what we have really discovered is an unhealed area in our own emotional makeup, and the effort what we put into healing, it will bring enormous rewards. In any situation which involves suffering, we have to ask ourselves, How long am I willing to pay the cost? What were the karmic propensities to work with to begin with? How much blame is enough? Is there a time to call an end to it? How long will I hang on to it? How much more sacrifice am I willing to pay to the other person for their wrongs, reals, or imaginary doings? How much guilt is enough? How much self punishment is enough? When will I give up the secret pleasure of self punishment? पता है, we become sadists. मालूम ही नहीं पड़ता अपने आप को इतना टॉर्चर करते हैं, पनिश करते रहते हैं, बिकॉज ये आपको है कि आई डिजर्व टू बी पनिश, मैंने ऐसा करा, ऐसा हुआ. When does a sentence come to an end? When will we really examine it? Will we always find that we've been punishing ourselves for ignorance, naivety, innocence, and lack of inner education? Because inner education, only you can educate yourself. You can change the programming of your mind. Because आपके family की society की वजह से, surrounding की वजह से एक programming हो गई. उसको reprogram करना आपके हाथ में है. Blame करना भी आपके हाथ में. उसी में फंसे रह जाओगे या आपको कुछ नया लिखना है. बोलते हैं नया इतिहास लिखो. आज जो आप लिख रहे हो वो आपका पास्ट होने वाला है, right? So write it well. You're the author director of your movie, of your life. Write beautiful stuff into it. We can ask ourselves a very important question. When was I ever trained in the techniques of emotional self-healing? When I went to school, did they teach me courses on consciousness? Did everyone tell me that I had the freedom to choose what went in my mind? Was I ever taught that I could refuse all the negative programming? Did anyone ever tell me the laws of consciousness? If not, why beat ourselves up about having innocently thought was best at that time? Jo hua us samay hua. So please turn the page. We don't have to blame them. We don't have to blame them at all. We can give up the whole blame game as obsolete and ineffectual. So very important for us, ये सवाल जो हमने 5-6 सवाल करे, सबके जवाब ना है, right? किसी स्कूल ने, किसी फैमिली ने नहीं सिखाया हमें. 1-2 चीज सिखाई होगी, बट सारे सवालों के जवाब ना होते हैं यूजुअली. इफ यू वेरी लकी सबके जवाब हाँ होंगे, नहीं तो 1-2 के हाँ होंगे, बाकी सबके ना होते. अब उस दुनिया पे रहना है कि नई दुनिया का निर्माण करना है, ये आपके पास चॉइस है. Of course, tomorrow we'll talk about our current, environment, the company that we are keeping. पहले क्या company थी, अब क्या company? We'll talk about that. But let's understand that you and I'm here for a reason, for a purpose. उस purpose को खोजना, उस reason को समझना, that depends completely upon us. Nobody will come and help us in this. We have to be conscious. We have to be aware. This is what our new life is, and we are creating it. Of course, your company matters, and we'll talk about that tomorrow very beautifully. It's time to go for our creative reading, and let's see the chapter that unfolds. As always, a beautiful book about the art of creative thinking by Rod Judkins is about challenging our perceptions. It's about thinking of something beyond, and it's something which is sometimes construed in a fashion where we can't even understand it, right? So achieve the perfect work-life balance. And this is something which is simple. Let's go. The way to achieve the perfect work-life balance is not to do any work. If your work and life are in separate compartments, something's gone wrong. Great painters, poets, dancers, artists, entrepreneurs, and creative people choose a lifestyle and they work out what they have to do to make a living within that way of life. They choose a fulfilling way of life rather than fulfilling society's expectations. When they're writing, painting, dancing, or whatever, they're doing what makes them truly and authentically themselves and would not want to be anything else. Hunter Thompson, spokesperson for the Beat generation, wanted to spend his life writing. So he set about earning his living through journalism and writing novels such as Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Thompson was never rich, but he was never poor either, and he lived the lifestyle that suited him. He fulfilled his potential as a writer. A ceremony was held for him, and he died in which his ashes were fired from a cannon. He literally went out with a bang. Let's understand, all of us are here for a reason. And the reason is we love to do what we do. And if we're doing what we're loving what we're doing, why would we want to change it? Now, Hunter Thompson jotted down this advice to a friend. As I see it then, the formula runs something like this. A man must choose a path that will let his abilities function at maximum efficiency towards the gratification of his desires. Do you see how deep this line is? I should choose मेरी ability किस में है, किस में maximum काम करती है, मेरा potential maximum क्या है, और मुझे कितना मजा आ रहा है उस अपनी energy को अपने सपने पूरे करने में. That's where my energy should go. Thompson continues. In short, he has not dedicated his life to reaching a predefined goal, but he has rather chosen a way of life he knows he will enjoy. Thompson achieved these ambitions. He sometimes had to scratch out a living through journalism, but he was writing what he believed, and that was what mattered most. The creative person's work and life are one. They're inseparable. They are their work. There is no balance because they are bound together. Once your life and work head down separate paths, you're destined for a schizophrenic lifestyle. But if you would go on a holiday and go to work, you need to change your life now. So again, it's weird with how this book comes up with some things which are opposite. It makes you think that agar meri life mein I'm doing something passionately, तो घर आके भी तो मैं इतने happy high horse पे रहूंगी. Why do I have to divide? And I'm happy, right? Because I'm continuing that beautiful energy from my office back at home. Then I'm not compartmentalizing myself. So again, the two theories, what we resonate with, we're supposed to work on it. Donald Trump says, if you're interested in balancing work and pleasure, stop trying to balance them. Instead, make your work more pleasurable. And this is one of the very few rare lines that Donald Trump says well, but it's so beautiful. So if you can make your work more pleasurable, life's going to be amazing. Time for a hard thought. So yes, very important for all of us to know that abhi jahan hum hain, we are daily getting pieces of wisdom. Now, how much we want to become wiser depends upon us. How much we are learning to play the game of life depends upon us. Very, very important for us to get these beautiful tools that we're given every day. कल एक टूल मिला था हमें, आज एक टूल मिला है हमें, परसों एक टूल मिला था. हम इनके ऊपर वर्क करें कि नहीं depends completely on us. So now today again, we're talking about we're letting go. Actually today we'll do a generic blessings wala, meditation. So probably you don't have to record, but if you want, you can. Releasing the past. That's what we're talking about. How often do you go into yesterday's mental garbage to create tomorrow's experiences? You need to periodically do some mental house cleaning and toss out the old rubbish or the things that no longer suit you or no longer fit you. Very important to understand this part. हमारे दिमाग में इतना कचरा भरा रहता है, रोज की रोज सफाई करनी इंपॉर्टेंट है. हम रोज टूथब्रश से अपना दांत साफ कर लेते हैं, रोज जाके यहाँ से गिर साफ कर लेते हैं, बाथरूम जाके यूरिन एंड वी एक्सक्रीट आल्सो. सो वी डिटॉक्स अ बॉडी आल्सो. इनहेल करके अपने लंग्स को डिटॉक्स कर लेते हैं. अंदर जो प्रोग्रामिंग है रोज रोज उसको बाहर निकालना कितने लोगों ने सीखा है. Every day when you wake up in the morning, why can't we say jo kal hua hua, and all the good things I'm taking back and all the bad things I'm leaving behind? You want to polish those ideas which are positive and good and nourish you and use them more often. कितनी बार होता है कि हम करते हैं. So very important for us to release the past with ease and trust the process of life. This is a very, 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 very strong and powerful hard thought. Very, very strong, powerful. And I'm willing to trust the process of life. भी कर सकते हो if you want. अगर आपको लगता है कि अभी आप trust नहीं करते हो, अगर आपको लगता है कि willing word add करने से you start believing in it, so go for it. Yes, Akshay, please read it.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Close the door on old, painful memories. Close the door on old hurts, old self-righteous unforgiveness. You might take an incident in the past where there was pain and hurt, something that is hard for you to forgive or look at. Ask yourself, how long do I want to hold on to this? How long do I want to suffer because of something that happened in the past? Now, see a stream in front of you and take this old experience, this hurt, this pain, this unforgiveness, and put the whole incident in the stream and see it begin to dissolve and drift downstream until it totally dissipates and disappears. You do have the ability to let go. You are free, and so it is.
I'm guided to do this meditation. So let's do this. Akshay is going to be powerful, so you can record it. Let's see what comes out of it. It's so beautiful. So let's do this only. So all of us, let's watch our postures, our back straight, strongly rooted. Today, we are going to be practicing releasing the past, and we're going to think of one intention or one problem that we are unable to let go and change. कुछ चीज है जो आपको परेशान कर रही है बहुत टाइम से, बट आप चाह कर भी उसको बदल नहीं पा रहे. आज उसको हम छोड़ेंगे. Let's see how many of us can leave it at the conscious level. Okay, so the minute we close our eyes, our subconscious world will start practicing. So let's go to invoke it by taking a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in and out. In and out. In and out. Life is a beautiful journey. Life is magical. Life is the biggest teacher. Whatever experiences we've had in our life have come to us for a reason. Some are cyclical in nature, which come back in patterns and they repeat themselves because we haven't learned the lesson yet. So let's always remember to count the blessing in whatever way possible. Any knock and shock, any twist and turn, any pitfall is there to come and teach us something bright, something nice. But after knowing that, yet there are some things in our life that we're unable to let go. It could be resentment. It could be guilt. It could be a habit that we really want to change. It could be a temper that we really want to give up. It could be our entire nature that criticizes, that blames, that forgets that I'm in a good, positive world. Think of that quality, which is your negative vice. And you want to let go and you want to create some virtues in us. You want to enhance your virtues and just finish off these vices, these evils, this evil part of you. Think of it. Why do I need to hold on to this feeling? Think of yourself, questioning yourself, but why is this problem continuing in your life? Why are you holding on? You want to let go. हजार बार सोचा है कि I want to change myself. You want to change. But why can't you let go? What is this habit serving you? Why did this habit start? And if it's because of somebody, immediately, mostly, you have thought of blaming somebody. That this happened because this person did this, or because this event happened like this. Now, can we go back to the event and visualize ourselves as the person who is the main reason why the event has happened, or said something, has done something, or somebody has said something? Put yourself in the shoes of the other person. Why would he have done what he has done? Okay, we can't understand much. And that's fine. If you can understand, fabulous. But can I separate myself and come back into who I was and at this moment forgive this person or this event? Knowing whatever happens is meant to happen at the right place and right time. This had to happen. This was a prarabdha. This was destiny. So it happened. Why am I still stuck there? Why can't I forgive? Now you see yourself right there and blessing the person or the event that happened. Yes, it's not a very positive feeling, but how do you feel when you let go and you forgive? You're showing your magnanimity, then that's what you're made of. You're showing generosity, and that's what you're made of. You're showing your love because that's what you are. And you're trying to see the things in the light when everything is dark. That's your true nature. So, can we invoke our higher self, our subconscious mind, and bless and heal ourselves? We have just forgiven, we have just let go. Now we have to forgive and let go for ourselves. We have to heal from that trauma or that attitude or that person or that conversation. Can we bless ourselves? Stand outside your body. See yourself in the front. Little child, older child, some time ago, young man, young woman, doesn't matter, however old you are at that time. Stand outside today, more wiser, more smarter, and bless that person which you saw yourself to be. Bless the person and tell the person, this particular problem is not helping me evolve. I have no reason to hold on to this angst, this resentment, this guilt, this entire journey. It's done me bad even after so many years. So I let you go. I free you from that emotional burden. I allow you to just let go. You don't want to hold on to this anymore. You don't want to suffer anymore, my dear loved one. You are special. You deserve all the magic, all the life that has to give you. You have been hurt. You have experienced this pain. You have not been unforgiving. Now it's time to put all of this behind us. And now imagine the Ganges River next to you. Any water body, could be an ocean, could be a sea. You could be in Goa, you could be in Rishikesh, wherever, water bodies flowing next to you. And this huge pitara of problems, whatever you call them, huge burden, whatever you call them, just dump it in Mother Nature, dump it in the water, let it flow. You can see it flowing, you can see it sinking. Such heavy energy. Dalte, it's gone below the water. And the minute it's gone below, Mother Nature has healed it. Now, how do you feel? Enjoy the feeling. What is it that you feel? Feel the feeling. Every problem is dissolved. Our resistance has dissolved. And now we're willing to move on in our life. Allow this new life to come in our life. Allow it to appear in its beautiful form, in its magnificence. Just because we have displayed this huge courage to let go of what was not required anymore, to let go of the feeling of holding on to something that was only burning us. We have tossed out that mental garbage. We have taken out that old programming. And now let's tell our mind, dear, beautiful, glorious mind, thank you for exiting the tape of negativity. All I want to do is thank you, thank you, thank you, dear mind, for allowing that negative programming to leave our body. And now we can do whatever we want. I am willing to change for the better. I am willing to become better. I am willing to grow, to learn. I am willing to nurture. And whatever it is was there. My mind also thought too many games. It's okay, dear mind. We are okay to heal ourselves. We are whole, healed, and complete. And we have let go of all the negativity that made us so heavy. Thank you for making us soar higher and higher and higher. And that is beautiful feeling of just being light. Let's bow our heads. Bow our heads towards all the cosmic energy, which is in the universe above, in the life around us, and into Mother Earth. Feel that energy entering your body from all sides of your body. From your Agna chakra, from your solar plexus chakra, from your heart chakra, from your Brahmandra, from your crown chakra, sacral root, every part, even your legs, all the pores are receiving energy from all sides. Imagine yourself being full of such good positive energy. You can feel sensation in your body. Enjoy that feeling, the tingling. And now, this beautiful light, this beautiful energy that's inside you, embrace it. And yet, being a channel of love and light, you can tell this energy that please make your way whenever you want. Whatever is coming in me is welcome. Whatever is leaving me is welcome. I am a channel of love. I am a channel of light. I am a channel of hope. I am a channel of new will. I am a channel of blessings. I am a channel of surrendering. I am a channel of manifestation. I am a channel of visualization. And I radiate joy because that is my life's intention. Allow that feeling to stay with you. And now, thank the universe. If you want, you can open your hands. You want, you can just enjoy sitting where you are, however your hands are. Thank it for giving you all the beautiful blessings. Thank your life for being so wonderful. Now you can fold your hands and drop them together. Drop them as much as you can. Feel the friction, feel the movement. Bless your beautiful face. Maybe see better, hear better, speak better, eat better, smell better, feel better. Our neck, our shoulders, our arms, our backside, upper back, middle back, lower back, spinal cord, our hips, excretory organs, back of our thighs, back of our knees, back of our calves, soles of our feet, upper part of our feet, front part of our calves, knees, front part of our thighs, sexual organs, entire gut area with intestine, small and large, stomach, gallbladder, kidneys, uterus, liver. Let's bless our lungs. Let's bless our heart. And with this beautiful feeling of being blessed and having let go, let's embrace this beautiful blessing and bless our Sanghamitras with more love and light and abundance and ritual blessings. Love and blessings for you, Akshay, Ruchi, Vijayji, Pratimaji, Jitendraji, Manisha, Ushaji, Meenakshi, Amit, Arvind, Anita, Richa, Pinaji, Rahul sir, Amrita ma'am, and to all Sanghamitras seeing virtually, blessings for all sentient beings. May there be love, may there be light. Lots of love, lots of light. Be blessed. Let's see each other tomorrow at 5. Lots of love and light. Thank you. And thank you, Akshay, for recording. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, Akshay, what do you? I said we'll call this meditation, letting go of that burden. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. God bless.